Chapter 9. Words cannot describe the pain you suffer when you lose a child. That's what they say. They may be right about words, yeah, but how about pictures, huh? Could pictures possibly help describe the pain you feel when you lose a child? You know what? I believe they just might. So, allow me to paint you some pictures, okay? Now, picture yourself standing in the middle of the freeway, facing oncoming cars. No. Trucks. Facing oncoming, noisy trucks whizzing past you in the dark, almost hitting you. Scary, right? Except that you want to be hit by those trucks. By all of them. Badly. Scary, right? Now picture yourself trudging the dark ocean floor. Okay? It's really, really dark. And you are in full snow gear, head to toe snow gear, but no oxygen tank. With no oxygen tank because, well, it had been ripped away by an aggressive shark, a great white. Can you breathe? Are you scared? Now do you get the picture? No? Well, how about this then? Picture your heart. Hold it in your hands. Now, picture it surrounded by shards of broken glass. Jagged pieces, some big, some little, all equally threatening, all permanent. Yeah, permanent. Now put it back in your chest. Go on, shards of glass and all. Put it back. Now breathe. Breathe. What happens? Yeah, every time you breathe, they stab viciously at your heart, incapacitating you, right? Right. The pain is perpetual and such that you quickly wish you were dead, so that you no longer have to feel that constant pain anymore. Are the pictures painting you 1,000 words? No? Okay. How about one last picture then? Huh? One last attempt on my part to describe the pain. Please. Now, picture yourself on one of those monster rides at the theme park, okay? Fast as a bullet. It's fun. Whee! You're clocking 300 kilometers an hour. Wow, up in the air. You're spinning. It's fun, it is. 300 kilometers an hour. Whee! Until you realize that you're on it by yourself, in the dark. No one at the controls to stop it, to slow it down. Why? Because they're all gone home. They've forgotten all about you. Left you hurtling in the dark. Spinning and spinning and spinning. 300 kilometers an hour in the dark. Forever. That's right. Forever. In the dark. Now do you get the picture of what it feels like to lose a child in one of the most haunting ways possible? Yeah, I wanted to die, just curl up and allow the life to ebb out of me. Let it hurt. Let me feel pain, for I deserve to feel every bit of pain. But I didn't have the luxury of death, for I had another child to consider. I had my son Warren to think about. My life became a blur, which I welcomed. Who needs clarity when you're drowning in despair and pain? Not me. It was just too painful. So I sat frozen, zombie-like, in a haze. Unfortunately, that blur didn't last. Once the cloak of numbness deserted me, a tsunami of tears prevailed. Even when I was asleep, tears silently cascaded down my cheeks and soaked my pillow. Soon, I just succumbed to my tears, stopped wiping them away, surrendered to my grief. The practical parts of the crime that took my child's life, that had to be dealt with. I was a suspect in the death of my child. I got that. I accepted it. Answered all the questions they asked over and over again. Same questions, posed differently, to trap me. I understood, and I accepted blame for my part in my baby's death. What I did was stupid, careless, and, of course, fatal. I was a bad mother. I was an unfit one who deserved to be punished. And remember, I didn't want Sasha when I found out I was pregnant with her. I was a terrible human being. I deserved to be punished. Hurt me, I beg the heavens. I deserve it. I deserve to feel every bit of pain Sasha felt as she lay in that baking hot car. Hurt me, please, I begged, hurt me. The polygraph, of course I consented to it. I had nothing to hide. And all I wanted was for them to rule me out as a suspect so that they could go after the monster who stole my car, then abandoned it in a quiet side street in 39-degree weather, Celsius, that is, 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and left my child to bake in it. Multiple organ failure. That was the cause of Sasha's death. Her tiny body, riddled with infection, was far too delicate to handle the oven the car had become on that heatwave of a day. Haunted. That's what I was. I would be haunted for the rest of my life, wondering about those last hours, and I deserved it all. On top of all of that, I had another major problem. Tom, Sasha's father. Was he going to take Warren away from me? Declare me an unfit parent and petition the courts for full custody? Then punish me by never allowing Warren to see me again? What would I do if that happened? The thought had me hyperventilating and keeping Warren really close to me at all times. How do I stop Tom from taking away my son? My son that he despised. What have I done to us? I kept asking myself. I lay in bed with Sasha's baby blanket covering my face. I needed to smell her. Desperately needed her scent to linger with me forever. So I gingerly handled everything of hers. Even her teething ring. It had a saliva on it. I cherished that. I cherished every single thing of Sasha's. Even the dirty stuff. They would need sterilizing, but no. I wouldn't be sterilizing any of it. Knock knock. A policewoman, Sergeant Smith, entered my bedroom. needing to speak to me. Irina, your husband has arrived in Sydney. Oh. And he would like to see you both, you and your son. Oh, okay. Oh. Also, he wants to discuss funeral arrangements. Tom. Oh my God. I silently chewed on my nails. The last person I wanted to see was Tom, my abuser, my son's abuser, the beast who murdered my baby. Yes, he did. It was Tom. Don't tell me otherwise. It was Tom. I did not want Tom to know where I lived. And I did not want to go to his house. His house. Yeah, that sounded pretty strange even to my own ears. We can do this at the police station if you're not comfortable here, the policewoman said, reading my mind. Okay, I don't want him to know where I live. Now, because Sasha had died in my BMW, the police had seized my car for evidence and forensics. So that left me with no vehicle. But the police were more than happy to drive me to the police station for my meeting with Tom. In fact, the police, they were just wonderful, supportive and kind in every sense of the word. Even though I was a suspect in Sasha's death, innocent until proven guilty. Tom was already at the police station when Warren and I arrived. Taking a deep breath and clutching Warren's tiny hand, I braced to see businessman Tom, efficient, immaculately dressed, intimidating and inspiring to all, probably accompanied by his solicitor. I braced myself for the angry finger-pointing from him, for the barrage of accusations coming my way. You really fucked this up, didn't you? Useless thing that you are. This is what you do when I'm not around? Dumb, Irina, just dumb. So much for independence and all the shit you wanted. Where did that get you? Huh? This would never have happened had I been in control. You realize that, right? Freedom? Really? This is the sum of it? Happy now, Irina? What a neglectful, incompetent mother you are. You killed our baby, you. Irina, relax, Sergeant Smith said, placing a hand on my tensing shoulder. We're going to be in the room, so if anything happens... Okay. I put a hand over my bloodshot eyes and muttered, He's going to be livid, oh God. Irina, we can handle him. We do this all the time. Don't you worry about a thing. We know his type. Oh, he's pretty charismatic. He'll win you over. We'll see about that, Sergeant Smith said. A woman with a baby and a toddler doesn't walk away from a life of luxury unless a husband is a monster. We know that. Grateful for her vote of confidence and encouraged by Sergeant Smith's words, I made my way over to Tom. Was I in for a surprise? Tom looked, well, a mess. Yes, he was red-eyed, 2-day-old stubble, hair disheveled, mismatched clothing. Highly unusual considering that he was such a neat freak. Immaculate all the time, obsessive about his appearance no matter what the situation. And he was alone. No lawyer, no high-powered anything. Irina, he cried, a look of absolute distress on his face. I am so sorry. He threw his arms around me and hugged me. I was not expecting that. Not at all. I stood stiff in his embrace, a little scared, a little shocked, highly confused. Just a little scared because All 4 officers looked on, their hands hovering over the pepper sprays, probably because of the picture I had painted of Tyrant Tom. Reproach? There was no reproach, no abuse, no gloating from Tom. No. Actually, to my astonishment, he appeared genuinely distraught, broken even. And he didn't try to staunch his flow of tears. That's right, tears. I'd never seen Tom cry before, so that was another shock to me. Despite my belief that he was behind Sasha's death, I found myself a little moved by his tears. I thought he too had lost a child. No matter what a monster he was. Remember, he was happy when I was pregnant with Sasha. Remember that? I was the one who was dismayed at the pregnancy, not him. Well, I was relieved, I was appreciative, and even grateful for him not blasting me for my error of judgment. Releasing me, Tom scooped Warren into his arms, sank into a chair and wept some more. To me, who knew Tom really well, he presented like a man in mourning, like a father mourning the loss of a baby girl. And as I watched him, confusion mushroomed inside of me. Am I wrong about Tom? Even more confusing, my instincts, which I had come to rely on, was telling me that I was not wrong. Daddy loved you so much, I heard Tom whisper to Warren. Warren did nothing. He sat stiff in Tom's arms, as if he was waiting for a reprimand, a shove, a push. When none of that came, Warren looked as confused as I did. From the corner of my eye, I noticed the officers exchange surprised looks, then shoot looks of sympathy at Tom. I wasn't sure if I wanted them to be sympathetic toward Tom, if I wanted them to brand Tom a nice guy. Tom looked up at me and whispered, "The funeral." So we went on to discuss funeral arrangements without a single accusation from Tom. I wept throughout the conversation, talking about flowers and coffins and burial sites for your baby girl. Trust me, it would break any parent's heart, and those shards of glass around mine pierced over and over and over again. "I'll take care of everything," Tom whispered, taking my hand in his. "Don't you worry about a thing." I nodded, grateful that he hadn't fired a single bullet of blame my way. "You don't have a car anymore," he pointed out. "I'll arrange the Merc for you to use." Wow, I blinked at him. Tom was that helpful? Thank you, was all I could manage. He released my hand and walked over to the police officers watching over us. Through my grief, I watched as he talked to every one of the officers, mentioning them by name. And when they nodded and smiled at him, alarm shot through me. I knew Tom's MO, win them over one by one. Charm, then disarm, slowly but surely. There was Tom. His charm was a vital part of his arsenal. Most alarming was Sergeant Smith. She appeared to be hanging on to his every word, bobbing her head as he spoke. She was the officer who assured me that they deal with characters like him all the time and that they were onto him. Yeah. "My wife is a great mother," I heard Tom say, loud enough for me to hear. Excuse me if I say my wife. I've never dated another woman, so, in my mind, she's still my wife, they're still my family. It's silly, I know, I apologize. No, Sergeant Smith said in a sympathetic voice. We understand, Mr. Botha. Okay, thank you, sorry again. No, don't be sorry, Mr. Botha, Sergeant Smith said. We totally understand. Right. I was pretty sure that after the policemen and policewomen met Tom, they thought differently of me. That I had bullshitted them about Tom. Probably thought that I left him because I wanted to play the field. How quickly did I get a boyfriend? What they saw was a man broken over the loss of his child, yet he treated me, his errant and neglectful wife, with the utmost love and respect. Who wouldn't gravitate toward him? When I heard the detective ask him to take a lie detector test, excitement shot through me. Would he? I held my breath as I waited for his answer. Sure, absolutely. I was stunned. I couldn't believe how readily Tom agreed to take the test. Again, I had to wonder, had I been wrong about Tom's involvement in Sasha's death? The police exchanged knowing looks between themselves, shot me confused looks, thanked Tom, and arranged for the polygraph that very afternoon. The polygraph would show deception if Tom was involved in Sasha's death. So, I was hopeful, because deep down, Tom was responsible. Then, to my utter astonishment, Tom passed the polygraph. I was floored. How was that possible? I no longer knew which side was up. Confused? There's more. Tom went on TV and in an emotional, tearful plea, offered a $100,000 reward for information leading to the arrest and conviction of the murder of our baby. $100,000. Were these the action of a guilty person? I asked myself that question time and time again. If I was wrong, then I was committing a terrible sin, accusing an innocent father of the most heinous crime ever, murdering his own child, branding him a monster. Imagine if I was accused of killing Sasha. Sure, I was a suspect, true, but imagine if I was wrongfully charged with Sasha's death. How would I feel? So the question was, if Tom wasn't responsible for the death of our baby, then who was? If it was someone else, then I had one more person in my life to hate. Yet, my gut, it told me otherwise, nagged me like a persistent gastric ulcer. It is Tom. But that was only my suspicion. Everyone else's eyes were now on this boyfriend of mine, Bear, who apparently couldn't be found. The questions darted at me, fast and furiously, like that movie he had taken me to see. This Shane Shaw you talk about, have you and him been fighting recently? Has he ever been abusive toward you? Has he ever been abusive toward your children? Did you know him while you lived with Tom? While you were still married to Tom? Bear is still married? Oh. Did he resent your children? Feel like they're in the way? Did he ever threaten to hurt them? No, Bear's not like that. He loves my children and he loves me. He's a wonderful man. They all exchange right looks. He's even given me his credit card to use. Look! I started to hunt for that card. Then I remembered that my purse was in the car the day it was stolen. Neither my purse, nor my handbag, or even my phone was ever retrieved from the BMW. I had used cash that day, so I did not need my purse. So I left it in the car. Do you have any photos of him? Of course, I have tons. I scrambled for my phone. Then I remembered the phone was stolen with my car. Keys! I have keys to his apartment. Well, the keys to Bear's apartment that I had, they were in the bag that was stolen with my car. In the end, I could provide no proof that Bear existed. Feeling like a thief, a fraud, a fool even, I said, look, I know this looks bad, but Bear, he really does exist. To which, after a sustained silence, a detective replied, Mrs. Botha, are you on any medication? Eventually, I became concerned when nobody could locate Bear. I wasn't in any way doubtful of him, but everyone around me seemed to be. They zeroed in on this character I called my boyfriend and continued questioning me about him. Wishing to put everyone's mind at ease, I called and requested a meeting with Captain Warner, Bear's work supervisor. Captain Warner, for some reason, was unable to meet with me. Why? I had no idea. He furnished me with no explanation as to why he couldn't meet with me. I got mad, but I also grew increasingly concerned. So I called again, explained my circumstances, was raw about it. I told him about Sasha's death, and insisted that I see Captain Warner. My persistent phone calls, or should I say my persistent threats, paid off, and eventually I was ushered into his office. Mrs. Botha, I'm really sorry for your loss, Captain Warner said and shook my hand, struggling to make eye contact with me, and that confused me. Thank you, please call me Arena. He gestured to a chair. You mention a Bear Shaw? I nodded as I took a seat. Shane Shaw. Unfortunately, Mrs. Botha, we don't have anyone by that name, I'm afraid. What? I stared at him for a few moments before I said, that's because he's an undercover. Probably has a different name, identity. He told you that? Well, did he tell you that he's an undercover cop? Well, no. No, he didn't actually say that, like utter those words. I just, it suddenly dawned on me that not once had Bear actually called himself an undercover cop. I got that from song and I ran with it. Mrs. Botha, I know all the undercovers, and I know no one by that name, ma'am. With a frown, I rubbed the back of my neck. Wait. What is going on now? Could Bear have given me the wrong details? What the hell is going on? Mrs. Botha, I can't show you photos of all our undercovers and ask you to identify them, unfortunately. But do you have a photo of him? When I explained that my phone with Bear's pictures in it was stolen, he gave me a sympathetic look, maybe even condescending look. I placed a hand on my forehead as confusion reigned over me. He has a daughter, Amy. He stared blankly at me, then said, do you have a vehicle registration, perhaps? I shook my head from side to side, feeling like the fool I was. No, I don't. Look, Captain Warner said, How about, why don't I look into it, check out his apartment and stuff and get back to you? Of course, yes, sure. In the meantime, may I ask a favor of you, Mrs. Porter? Of course, sure. Don't pursue this. Pardon? You see, I don't want to alert this person in any way. I'll be on it, but let's keep it quiet. This person? Alert him in any way? Were we talking about the same person? Were we all talking about Bear? What the hell is going on? I didn't know what to think anymore. Sure, I eventually muttered, thinking, you've got it all wrong. Bear isn't the fraud you're making him out to be. Though I must confess, by the time I left the police station, I experienced some doubt. Yeah, I did. I mean, how did I even know that Bear was a cop? I just took his word for it. Song took his word for it too. Come to think of it, Bear never confirmed that he was an undercover cop. No. He didn't confirm nor deny it. He had been, cagey about everything. An undercover cop. How convenient. It's the kind of lie that permits you to be cagey, permits you to tacitly demand that everyone around you accept your evasiveness. Understand. They must understand and ask no questions. Foolish people, that is. Foolish people like me. Yeah. An undercover cop. Smart. Really smart. Even Amy. We only picked her up at McDonald's. I had no idea where Amy lived. But wait. Bear had given me Captain Warner's name. How do you explain that? Maybe, just maybe he gave me the captain's name, not realizing that I would actually need to contact him. How dumb was I? Yeah, he was probably married to someone in another state and was leading a double life. A candidate for the Oprah show. Yeah. Despite me being suddenly assailed by doubt, the one thing I was certain of, Bear would never hurt Sasha. Not when he had a child, right? I mean, I remembered how he held her and how he would kiss her cheek when she slipped. And how many soft toys he bought her all along. Bear adored Sasha. He told me that because of work, he had missed out on so much of Amy when she was a baby, that now with Sasha, it felt as if he was making up for lost time. And he was loving it. That I believed. Believe. Despite those memories, confusion rocked me. And I felt like a fool. I did. Anyway, with Sasha's funeral dominating my thoughts, I had no choice but to stow Bear and the possibility that he was a fraud away in the attic of my mind. Later, I would handle Bear, or whoever he was. Chapter 10. The funeral. How do I describe Sasha's funeral? Heartbreaking. That's the word, heartbreaking. I wanted it to be over. I never wanted to remember Sasha the way I saw her that day. Ashen, puffed up, and in a tiny white box, with a hint of a sweet smile on her face. After everyone left, I stood at a grave, closed my eyes, and talked to my beautiful daughter. Sasha, my baby, my love. Mommy is so sorry to have hurt you. I promise you, darling, I promise you that one day I will find the person who did this to you, and I will hurt him like he hurt you. I promise you, my darling, I promise you. I will search for that person, and I will never rest until I do. I love you forever and ever, my baby girl. For weeks, Tom was consistently wonderful to Warren and me, and sometimes I had to wonder, was this the same man who abused and mistreated me and my son? The man who grabbed me by the throat and squeezed until I saw black dots in front of my eyes. Who had towered over Warren and smashed a CD with his bare hands, scaring Warren into wetting his pants. Who mocked Warren and called him names because Warren wore a pull-up nappy to bed. Who grabbed my phone out of my hands and dropped it in the toilet once. Why? Because I was too long on the phone with my mother, who had just undergone chemotherapy. The man who threatened to punch Mummy if Warren wet the bed again. An abuser doesn't change. No, I knew that for a fact. They can amend their behavior to fit into society, to fit the moment, but deep down, they are the same. So, Tom's new behavior made me feel like maybe, just maybe, I need medication. I mean, he was always helpful, eager to make us happy. And he spent money like crazy on Warren and me, bought us stuff we didn't ask for, didn't even need. He had passed the polygraph, defended me like crazy, and most of all, most important, he made no attempt to take Warren away from me, even though he could have. What was his intentions? I asked myself. Had he any? Tom had always bragged that everything he did was to achieve something in the end. Or it was pointless doing anything. So, with that in mind, was he playing a game? If so, what was his end game? Losing Sasha has been a wake-up call for me, he said in a foreign voice, a humble voice. I know that I have done and said things that were truly... He hung his head in shame. Me, I said nothing because I had no idea what to say. He looked up at me and continued to speak in that unfamiliar voice. I didn't want to see the kids because I feared that I was too weak to give them back to you. I needed time to do some soul searching, and I did, Irina. I did. By God, I did. I realized just how much I loved you and my kids. Without you, Irina, I hate to admit it, but I am incomplete. Wow. I was still at a loss for words. And uncomfortable with his declaration of whatever. I hesitate to use the word love when it comes to Tom. Sorry, but I just do. I've been in therapy and I've tackled demon after demon after demon. Trust me, it has really helped me see where I went wrong. And I own everything I've done. Whatever I've done, I own, okay? Okay, I muttered, feeling the need to say something. Feeling the pressure to say something. Everyone deserves a second chance, Irina. I need one too. Come home. It's where you both belong. And And there it was. His intention. To win me back. I took no comfort from his words. All I felt was a sensation of a pillow hovering over my face once again. Here. I miss my son so much. Losing Sasha has changed me. I can't bear to think that something could happen to Warren. You know, his words may have been innocuous, but to me, it came across as a threat, and it left me jarred. Yeah, I mean, maybe I was being too sensitive, ungrateful even, but I had trust issues when it came to Tom. I'll think about it. I mean, Tom, right now, I have too much on my plate to consider anything too drastic. Please understand, Tom. Absolutely. Take all the time you need. No pressure. A wonderful changed man or a con artist? All the right words. I was so damn confused. A few days after Sasha's funeral, I found an envelope in my mailbox addressed to me. In it was $5,000 in cash. I gasped, then whirled around to see if anyone was watching me. Quickly, I shoved the money into my bag. It was Tom. He sure was pulling out all the stops to win me back. Accepting Tom's money, his help, was akin to me accepting a gift from the mob. I knew that much. Despite all the alarm bells gonging in my head, I accepted the money. I mean, with Bear's credit card gone, I really needed the money, and very quickly it was all gone. The next time I saw Tom, I said, "Thanks for the money, Tom." "What money?" "The cash, the $5,000. Tom blinked at me for a few seconds, then said, as I've said before, "What money?" He followed his words with a smile and a shrug. Culpable homicide. That's what I was charged with. I nodded and accepted my plea. I had this incessant need to pay for my negligence, my way of righting my horrendous wrong. I was responsible for my baby's death, and I wasn't shirking that responsibility, no. I needed to pay. I needed to bleed, and then only would Sasha be avenged for my part in her death. Twisted way of thinking? I know, but I felt like fighting. With someone. Anyone. Even with myself. I wanted to hurt someone. Badly. Maim. Injure. Slash at them with a serrated knife. I just wanted to fight. I wanted to hurt physically to match my emotional pain. I couldn't really focus on my feelings of anger because I was facing prison time. That wasn't my dilemma. My dilemma was Warren. If I went to prison, what would become of him? He was just 5 and a battered 5-year-old at that, thanks to his authoritarian father who ruled with an iron fist and an iron foot. After Sasha's death, Warren became very clingy and slept with me every night. Tom said that he had changed, but I knew that nobody changed overnight, and I was worried about Warren, stressed about me having to leave him with Tom, should I serve time in prison. When Tom heard that I was being charged with culpable homicide, he secured me a lawyer right away, one of Sydney's finest, and even paid for their services. Appearing distraught as hell, he rushed over to the police station to have a word with the detectives. "She's a good mother," he protested. "She'd never do anything to harm her kids. Okay, sure, we had our problem, but as a mother, I could never fault her. Absolutely not." He then went on to urge the police not to charge me, fought for me. "I know that you guys have a job to do. I mean, I respect that, and man, you guys, you found my car in less than 24 hours, so I applaud you. absolutely applaud you, but my wife, you have to have a heart, man. She's a good mother. She's suffered. She's already paid. She'll pay for the rest of her life. You don't have to punish her any further." Wonderful, right? That was Tom. Now, even though he was saying all the right things, I wish he wouldn't call me his wife. As he ranted and raved about me and what a wonderful mother I was, I watched him win everyone over. Anyway, it worked. Because of Tom, and I'm sure it was, I was sentenced to 2 years imprisonment, but with no jail time, just probation. All because of Tom, his solicitor, his persistent pleading with the prosecution, and his wholehearted support. I could now be with Warren. I thanked Tom before I cried with relief, wept. Even though I wasn't losing Warren, and even though I wasn't going to prison, life was simply unbearable. The pain of losing Sasha coiled around my heart and threatened to squeeze the life out of me. I wanted numbness, I wanted drugs, I wanted darkness, I wanted silence. I was supposed to spend my days hunting down Sasha's killer, right? But how could I, when I had trouble lifting my head off the pillow? How could I hunt down my child's killer? It seemed as if all my energy had left with baby Sasha. I withdrew from everybody and everything and no longer left my apartment unless it was absolutely necessary. I closed all of the blinds, turned off the lights, and existed in darkness most of the time. Mike and Soong were wonderful. They helped take care of Warren on the days when I couldn't get out of bed. When I stayed up all night, all day, then became a zombie who sat in the chair in the dark and stared at nothing. I forgot to eat, forgot to shower, forgot to take Warren to school some days, forgot to pick him up from school other days. I had lost my mind, in short. Tom had been working on his relationship with Warren, and slowly I saw Warren warming toward his father. I was relieved. With Bear out of the picture, Warren needed a father figure, and who better than Tom, his biological father? It's not like I had a choice. It's not like Warren had a choice. "I want to take him to Canberra," Tom said, "just for a week." "Do you want to go, Warren?" I asked, expecting him to say no, wanting him to say no. "Yes," Warren said. "Daddy's taking me to the monster truck show, Mom." His voice was filled with excitement. After Bear disappeared, Warren never once mentioned his name, never asked about him. And that told me that he too had suffered intense disappointment over fraudulent Bear. I nodded. "Okay, then." "Come with us," Tom said, tilting his head at me. I gave a dismissive wave. I was not going with Tom. "It'll do you good, Irina." I'm not in the mood, Tom. I'll get you a separate bedroom." "Tom, I need to be alone." "I do. Besides, I need permission to leave the state, you know that, right? I'm on parole, remember?" "If you change your mind, I'll arrange permission for you with your parole officer." I blinked at him. He could do that? Wow, just how powerful was he? "Thanks," I said, then went on to wallow in my loss and grief without Warren by my side. A day later, when I didn't hear from Warren or Tom, I called to speak to Warren. Mom, can you come over? Please, Mom, please." Ding, 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 ding. Why was my son whispering? Why was his voice watery? Fighting for calm, I said, "Warren, what is it, Warren?" "Nothing, Mom. just need you. That's all, Mom. Please, Mom. Something was wrong. Something was terribly wrong. It suddenly felt as if a sumo wrestler was sitting on my chest. Then and there, I decided I was going to get Warren and take him away from Tom, right then and there. It was 6 p.m., no time to get permission to leave the state. Warren, put Daddy on the line. Oh, he's just missing you, that's all, Tom said in a casual voice. Come on over. Tom, I don't have permission. Can you call and get me permission? Too late now. They leave the office around 5:30. They won't know, Tom said. Just get into the Merc and drive down. Don't break any speed limits and you'll be fine. Come on, he misses you. He's been through a lot. Let's give the kid a break, okay? Without thinking and fighting off panic, I got into my car and drove down to Canberra. It was a 4-hour drive, so I could drive there, pick up my son, and drive back by morning. Nobody would know I'd left Sydney. I was very careful with my speed, followed all the rules of the road so as not to be stopped by the cops. All went well until I got to Canberra. 5 minutes after I arrived in Canberra and just 6 minutes away from Tom and Warren, I was pulled over by the cops. Driver's license, please, the cop said in a terse voice. I hesitated, then produced my driver's license. The cop took one look at it and arrested me. I was stunned by my misfortune. Just rotten luck? Or was Tom behind it? I had no idea, and frankly, I really didn't care. Nothing affected me much those days, not even going to jail. Not even losing my freedom. It was the numbness. It gave me a really thick skin. Stopped me from feeling. I wanted to be removed from society so that I didn't have to interact with anybody. The only person who really affected me was Warren, who was now in Tom's care. For violating my parole, I was thrown in jail to serve my 2-year sentence. 2 years. Losing Warren made me feel, oh yes, it made me feel helpless and furious with myself for allowing that to happen. I had fucked up again, and I was furious with myself. Tom tried desperately to pull strings to keep me out of prison, but apparently it was too late. I murmured my thanks to him and realized that I now had to keep Tom happy so that he would be good to Warren. So I was pleasant to him, saying all the right things and giving him hope that I will end up back with him. It worked. Warren whispered that his father was nice to him. Boy, was I relieved. Silverwater Correctional Center was a minimum security prison, but a prison nevertheless. That would be my home for 2 years. Tom, of course, automatically got full custody of Warren. How could I possibly fault him? It wasn't like he petitioned the courts for custody. I had stupidly brought this on myself. Losing custody of Warren made me think of suicide. Often. I had basically lost both my kids because I had chosen freedom. What was the point of living? Anger cloaked me. This freedom crap had it all wrong. I was a nutjob who messed up at every turn. Couldn't get it right with a boyfriend even. What an epic failure I was. Tom, however, he wasn't a failure. No, he was doing just fine without me and my drama. And, to his credit, the man who I didn't trust at all, believing that he wanted to hurt me through my children, brought Warren to see me every Sunday every single Sunday without fail. While visiting, he'd usually buy us tons of food from the vending machines so that we could sort of lunch together. Not only that, but he bought stuff from the vending machines for other inmates in the room as well, even for the correctional officers watching over us. So of course, everyone around me loved Tom and looked forward to his visits because of that. Tom seemed happy and upbeat, and he laughed often. To my utter relief, Warren didn't look sad or depressed, and for that, I was immensely grateful and relieved. Perhaps Tom had changed after all. I so wanted to believe it. So when everyone at Silverwater said, "What a great guy your husband is," I nodded. Didn't agree with them, but I didn't tell them what a monster he could be. I was a model prisoner, hoping to get early release from prison. I stayed out of fights, did what I was told, followed orders, and spent my spare time sleeping and thinking about Warren and mourning the death of my beloved Sasha. The first time Song visited me in prison, her eyes filled with tears. "Song, I'm okay." She leaned across the table and dropped her voice. "You want my knife?" I squinted at her. Her hands were empty. Her eyebrows crept upwards, eventually disappearing behind a fringe. My eyes grew large. "You have it here?" She gave me the tiniest of nods, and that look in her eyes had mine zipping across her breast, then lower. How the hell did she smuggle it in with all the metal detectors around? I had to ask. "Song, the metal detectors." "Prison purse," she whispered. "Metal detectives?" She gave a dismissive wave. Wow, I was speechless. Prison purse? My imagination flew to the rescue. "Ouch. I pass it to you under the table?" I shook my head vigorously from side to side. "Not necessary, Song." She stared at me with lips pressed together. "But thanks." She shook her index finger at me and said, "You take your teeth brush, you make sharp end, okay?" "My toothbrush?" She nodded. Then mouth, "Shank any bitches. One time, hard." She stabbed that finger at her neck. "Sure," I said, and quickly changed the subject. How's Charlie, Song?" When Song left, I was relieved. The last thing I wanted was to do more time because a friend had smuggled in a knife for me. What happened to a file in a cake? Anyway, I appreciated Song taking the time and effort to teach me how to fashion a shank from a teeth brush, where to stab the bitches in the neck, and how to do it hard, one time. And of course, I really appreciated the effort she put in to shove a knife, probably a Swiss Army knife, in a place that was sure to, ouch. All in the name of friendship. My friendship. Only a true friend would go to such lengths. I felt honored. The thing about prison, you have plenty time to think. And despite not wanting to, thoughts of Bear crept into my mind and took over. What a disappointment he was to me. A con artist who preyed on gullible, needy, stupid women like me. Don't ever leave me, Arena. Asshole. I don't want to come home if there's no us. Motherfucker. Haven't felt this complete in a long time. Bastard. What a sucker I was to believe all that he fed me. Idiot that I was. So, just out of curiosity, where was he now? Whining and dining some other sucker while I languished in prison? Was he celebrating his win, his victory with some other clueless woman? Some single mother? Was he laughing his ass off at my trusting self? I worked out what I would say if I ever saw him again. If he was unfortunate enough to encounter me. Did Tom send you to me, Bear? Or whoever the fuck you are? Did Tom pay you to win my trust over? Take me on a magic carpet ride? Got me to love you body and soul? Duped me? Only to pull that magic carpet from under my feet in the worst possible way. Are you my punishment, Bear? You dirty, heartless dog? Did you hurt my baby, who you profess to love? The baby who jumped out of my arms and into yours whenever you were around? Huh? And Amy, is she really your daughter? A paid actor too? I fell in love with her too, you pathetic creature. I hate you, Bear. I despise you. I loathe you. Wait, what's a word worse than loathe? I didn't know. Guess I would have to find out. But anyway, back to my conversation with Bear. Should he be unfortunate enough to be in my midst, I could kill you. You wolf. Knife you. No. I could shank you. I was in prison, remember? A shanking would be more apt than a knife. Yeah, wolf, I'd shank you without hesitation. One time. Hard in the neck, you bitch. I'd call him a bitch, yeah. I'd call him a bitch. But when my bouts of unbridled anger disappeared, my mind betrayed me. My body too. My thoughts about Bear drifted to happier times. Our first date. Us at that restaurant with the fireplace. Our favorite waterfall picnic spot where we necked like teenagers. The day he told me he loved me at the traffic lights. His strong arms around my naked body. His muscular thighs pressed, comforting and almost possessively over mine. His blue eyes boring into mine as he existed deep inside of me. The way he'd hold my face with both his hands when he kissed me. Wow. The wonderful feeling of his tongue inside my mouth. The way he'd whisper my name when we made love. Yeah. Often during the week, he'd get Julie's mum to watch over Sasha. Then he'd whisk me off to lunch or to a movie, after which we'd sneak into his apartment, make leisurely love, snooze, shower together, then hurry back to our daily grind. How I miss those matinee love sessions. Yeah. My children, the way he'd romp around with Warren and Sasha, then would reach over their heads to steal a kiss from me. I'm a home. Our pasta commercial family. Wow. All gone. I fell in love with him. Warren and Sasha too. Song, Mike, even little Charlie. We all fell in love with him, and yet he let us all down. A sob escaped me. What a pity Bear knew exactly how to love me. Yes, he quickly cracked the code to my soul, got to my heart, and then, instead of treasuring it, he shredded it to tiny pieces. Bastard. He was no longer my Care Bear. He had lost that title. I had stripped him of it. He was now a wolf. The bear that I knew died with Sasha. Yeah. History. Yeah. Yet, I ached for Bear so much that I cried myself to sleep. Despite everything he did, all that he had taken from me, I loved him so much still. And I wanted him. I wanted the Bear I knew and loved, that Bear. I wanted him to hold me and to love me the way he had loved me before, just for one day, just for 1 hour. Okay, a couple of minutes then. One last time, please. I was hurting so much in every possible way. I had lost so much. I needed comfort. I needed my Bear to comfort me. Just one more time. Why couldn't time rewind, allow me to have that Bear for just a few minutes? Why couldn't God, the universe, whoever, whatever, take pity on me? Huh? What had I done in life that was so wrong that I had to be punished in such an unfair and unjust manner? When you take away a loving mother's 2 children for no warranted reason, it is always unjust. It is always unfair. Imagine, it was a wolf in Bear's clothing that helped destroy me. I had been betrayed by 2 men in my life within months of each other. Yeah. Why me? I demanded from the universe. Why me? Huh? Why me? I got no answer to my question. No. To listen to more of Eve Rabi's audio works on YouTube, please like this post and subscribe.